Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I am here with David.
Hello.
And we are here, as we always are, Monday mornings at 10 a.m. Pacific to share with you the spiritual weather forecast for the coming 7 days. We do this by looking through the ancient texts of Kabbalah and do our best to present to you a perspective that is both true to the ancient wisdom and practical and relevant for today's modern world. This week, we have different factors that are affecting the energy of the week, and we're going to do our best to make a concise and clear directive for all of us this week. Sometimes there's so much going on that it's hard to put it into one succinct sentence and assignment, but we're going to do our darndest to be able to do that with you. If you are listening now on iTunes, Spotify, Castbox, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or Google Play, you can take a second now to subscribe or to share the podcast with whoever you think needs a boost. The reason we do this, truth be told, is that it gives us a boost. We get to prepare for the energy of the coming week. We are aware and ready for whatever the terrain may be, which means that we can avoid whatever potential pitfalls there are, and we can jump toward, it's almost like a video game. You know, if you know where the coins are, you're going to be able to take that route. And that's really what we try to do for both ourselves and our listeners. This week, how would you
Where
paraphrase?
would you like to start? We were speaking about several different topics that we could share with our listeners this week. There's a lot going on, a lot of energies coming from multiple directions. Where would you like to start, Elisheva?
Well, I think, as always, one of the things, we do break our shows up by weeks, but we always talk about the monthly energy as well. We usually get to do that toward the beginning of the month. The beginning of the month happens to fall at the end of the week. So we want to give everybody a heads up about that. And then maybe next week we can talk more about that energy of Leo itself. Okay. The month of Leo on the kabbalistic calendar begins this Friday, Thursday night and Friday. So we'll get more into that in next week's show. What we do want you to know, though, is that 24-hour period is key for creating the mold for the coming month.
You're talking about Virgo. You're talking about Leo.
Yes, I'm talking about Leo. The month of Leo is a powerful one and very unique. And there's a lot of different opportunities that we have to capture unique energies that I think all of us are looking for in our lives. But for the time being, from the opening of that window, which is this Thursday evening at sunset, to Thursday to Friday evening at sunset, we want to ask all of humanity to be on their best behavior, because that is, again, what creates the tempo for the following 29 days. The idea of the new moon, according to Kabbalah, is that it's the seed to the tree that's going to grow this month and the fruits that this month will bear. So the quality of the seed and how we treat that seed is fundamental to the fruits that are going to be forthcoming.
Right. And we want to always help people try to take all this information, all this energy that's hitting them. Elisheva. I wrote a note to Elisheva. She's giving me a face. All right. So we are, there's so much information coming from every direction for people, right? So much spiritual wisdom, content, what to do, what not to do. And I always like to ask myself when I wake up every morning, because I feel so much pressure and so much bombarding me on a daily basis. Well, how do I take all this information in, and what do I do with it? So I always remind myself of my purpose every morning, and we also want to share a morning routine and a nighttime routine, especially in the next week and 30 days. We have to remember, what is our purpose? What is our purpose for being in this world? Because life can really pull you away from your purpose. And when people come to Kabbalah, what they really love about it is very quickly they start to understand what's the reason why they came to this world, and it resonates with them because it's a truth that they've always kind of known, but now We're labeling it. We're validating it for them. Our purpose in this world is complete transformation of our negativity. That's it. Our fears, our negativity, our doubts, our worries, whatever is inside of us, our victim consciousness, if we still think it's the other guy's fault, or someone is doing something to me, or someone is hurting me, or someone took something away from me, all of this is really just igniting within us what it is that we need to change about ourselves. And it sounds good when you hear it. Now you're listening and you're like, yeah, that sounds great. But it's not easy to do when you're faced with that situation. During these 3 weeks, which started 2 Fridays ago, and we're right in the middle of the 3 weeks, we call it the 3 most intense weeks of the year. Your husband, Elisheva, actually gave a beautiful lecture about it on Saturday. So many illusions are coming. So many different energies are hitting us and causing us to think things that aren't true, to hear things that aren't going to be helpful, to feel things that ultimately will cause us to make reactive decisions. And we have to be cognizant of that. These 3 weeks, it's a lot of smoke and mirror, a lot of illusion. And the best way to handle these 3 weeks is to pause and to push that energy back, to not make it about us. One of our teachers, he shared something 2 weeks ago, which I found to be so profound. We're all so busy with how we feel. Oh, you make me feel this. You don't make me feel that. Imagine you're in a relationship. You don't.
Let me imagine that for a second.
Yeah, imagine you're in a relationship, Elisheva, and your spouse is, they're not saying exactly what you want to hear at that moment. At the end of the day, who really cares? Because it's so much bigger than that, right? Your life is so much bigger than the nonsense we make it about on a daily basis. Our opponent, this negative force that we call Satan. Some people don't like that word, but Hollywood borrowed it, called it Satan. But Satan is a negative force, an energy intelligence that exists for each person, causing each person to be afraid, causing each person not to fulfill their purpose. So what does our opponent do to us? Make us be busy with nonsense, with how I feel, how little me feels at this moment. What do the Kabbalists say? If you focus on your big picture purpose in life, and you take full responsibility for your negativity and full responsibility for your thoughts, words, and actions, and you transform them, as Kabbalah explains how we can do, all of a sudden, all the feelings that you want to feel will come. All the respect, the pleasures, the physical pleasures in life. This will start to unfold for you. But we're so busy in what this guy said and what that guy did and what this money didn't come and this one and that one. And we have to kind of get out of that small picture, and especially these 3 weeks. That's the first place we're going to start reinstating what these 3 weeks are about. Because the hardest part of these 3 weeks is coming when Leo starts. Mm-hmm. So when Leo starts, we have 9 days, those final 9 days.
Of the 3 weeks.
Of the 3 weeks, the first 9 days of Leo are going to be filled with this powerful energy which can discombobulate us.
It's like, imagine turning the volume all the way up and the brightness all the way up and the bass all the way up.
Right.
And everything is just in your face, irritating. And somebody asked in the comments of one of our previous shows, isn't that evil speech by talking about that time period or the people born under that sign, those negative attributes,
right.
Calling the road bumpy is not gossiping about the road, right? What we're doing, it's, and this is something that I learned again from Rav Berg, our teacher. It's that, the tendency of the beast, the human being, mm-hmm. is to run towards pleasure and run away from pain. Mm-hmm. And the idea of knowing that there's a pothole in the road ahead of us, you can call the first 9 days of Leo a pretty big pothole. It's so that you can plan your route. If you do have to go through it, sit on a cushion, right. Make sure your tires are full of air. Do what you can to navigate that terrain in the best way possible, so that if I'll speak about myself. Mm-hmm. I know that I can be especially sensitive in certain situations, or I know that I tend to recoil at certain situations. I have that pep talk with myself and I say, you know what? The fact that you're able to have that conversation in this time period reveals so much more light than it would in any other time period. And the PS of that conversation is, if you feel you can't have that conversation now, don't. And that's another big lesson, I think, from the Kabbalists in this time period is David's saying, that voice that says, well, I feel this, or I didn't get that, there's a very subtle difference between that voice and the true voice, the voice of our soul. The voice of your soul might say, you know what, I can do it better in a different time, or maybe if I let the drama of this area in life die down, I'll be better equipped to handle that conversation or whatever. The voice of your soul will never put anyone else down. Will never focus on lack. Will never see the glass half empty. Will always push you to see the glass half full. And it's very subtle. The difference is very subtle because that voice is very quiet. But it's especially important to stay in tune with your true self and honor that voice in this time so that you can get to when you do that and you get to the other side of this time period, the fruits are well worth it.
Right. And just for everyone who's listening, or if it's your first time listening, the best way to listen to this show, whether you're listening to it live or on podcast or on Spotify, the best way to listen to this show is try to extract one lesson, something that's powerful for you, and just live it. We're going to talk about many concepts, and people, when I talk to people after the show, we have thousands of people who listen to the show on the day of and throughout the week. Everyone hears something different because it's all based on your filter, your movie, your personal transformation at that moment. Find something that's powerful for you. Remember it. The scientists share that our memories, when you remember something, what you remember best is a moment where you were remembering something. So it's kind of very interesting. So if you actually, as you hear something, you try to focus on remembering it, in the future, you're going to remember that moment that you remembered, if that just made sense, or if I could have totally confused you. But I'm also going to say, do like this post, do share this post, help us create engagement to also help support every week. It's getting bigger. Our audience is getting bigger thanks to you. The other thing I wanted to say about what you said, Elisheva, is evil speech, right? Someone said, when you say the negative signs of Leo, aren't you speaking evil speech? You know what? The way I look at life is that every word that comes out of my mouth is evil speech. I've already stopped trying to think, is it good speech? Is it bad speech?
I had a lot of great conversations about that show with people last week, trying to differentiate, and I basically said,
you're going to beat yourself up all day.
Yeah. Modern life doesn't allow us to obey those laws.
Right.
Precisely as we would have maybe 1,000 years ago.
Right. It's still advantageous to learn as many of the spiritual laws as possible. And I know I gave a class on Kabbalah.com. I'm sure you've spoken about it a lot. A whole evil speech course, 4 weeks. I don't think I scratched the surface. But the way I look at it is, my baseline is, I'm sure every word that comes out of my mouth is some form of evil speech. Now, that being said, let me see how much of it I can make as positive as possible. Let me see how every word that comes out of my mouth can be a value add, or not to hurt someone, or not to ruin someone's reputation, or not to tell a lie, or not to come from a place where I'm trying to manipulate or flatter, right? I'd rather be more cognizant of that as opposed to trying to be perfect and not speaking evil speech.
That was the conclusion I had in a lot of my conversations last week, and I think it's a good segue into this week's topic, is that it's really about intention.
Right.
If a student came to me and asked, I have a team of people that I am responsible for. We share a bottom line. I need to coach them and guide them, and sometimes that means talking about things they did or didn't do. Right. How do I make sure I'm not speaking evil speech? And I said to her, well, it's all about your intention. If you need to point out a shortcoming, not because you're saying what an idiot the person is, but because by identifying the weaknesses, you can turn them into strengths. It's not, if that's the intention, you elevate the whole situation.
Right.
And in this week's energy, the universe is really asking us to double down on our intention, right? We said that this week we're going to talk about meditation and being more connected to our soul. This is the key really to everything, according to the Kabbalists, is being clear on your intention and constantly purifying and elevating your intention. Another person I've been speaking to about a new relationship, right? And so she's asking me, what should I do? What should I do? What does it mean? Right? They're doing this to me. What does that mean? I haven't heard from them.
Romantic
relationship. Yeah. And my question back, literally we've been talking like 3 weeks, every few days about it. What was your intention when you met that person?
You mean what were you desiring and what were you?
Right. Where was your head at? Were you looking for a good time? Were you looking for relief from loneliness? Were you looking for, there's so many different reasons that we might be putting ourselves out there for in any form, not just in a, looking for a potential romantic partner. And, then she says, okay, I'm going to call him back. What should I do? It's never about what you should do. It's what's your intention in calling back,
right?
Because your intention is going to lead the conversation.
And so funny you said that, because I spoke to somebody this week who's having chaos in their love life after being in a relationship for a couple of years with them. And something I told them was shocking is you have to even if your love life is great today with the person, you do have to take responsibility for those first 5 minutes of what was your intention of when you got together with them. So for example, if at the moment you got together with them, you were coming from a place of neediness or loneliness or wanted their approval, even if today the relationship has matured and has become good, you still need to take full spiritual responsibility for the beginning of the relationship, because that seed is still tarnished and it's going to produce tarnished fruit a couple years later. So all the people who are listening right now, if you are in a relationship that you're happy with, you should go back into that first week that you met them and try to take responsibility for any negativity. It could just be you were trying to take advantage of them. It could just be you were trying to sleep with them. Oh, but then you realize you actually like them, right?
Well,
so even that you have to take full responsibility for, because that week was the seed level, right? Or maybe you did sleep with them from the wrong intention, right? You created this powerful energy. Later, it morphed into a relationship that you're happy with. That doesn't change the fact that you had negative consciousness the first week. How do you take responsibility? Just acknowledge that you did it inside yourself, right? You have to confess it to yourself. You have to feel the pain of what you did, knowing that it was creating negative energy in the universe and in your soul. And the third step is to make a commitment to be different with everything else you do in life moving forward when it comes to intention, right? So you're going to say, I'm not going to have that same opportunistic intention I had in my last relationship with everything now moving forward, with clients, with friends, with family, so on and so forth. Those 3 steps can go back in time and erase negativity or take responsibility for it. And that's something all of us should do. All of us should do. Sometimes it says that parents who conceived a child, maybe by accident, if it's going to hurt the child, well, let me rephrase that. Let's say the child,
quickly,
let's say the child is like 20, 30 years old today, and that child is having difficulty or chaos in the child's life. Something the parent can do is actually go back to the time of conception, really, and take responsibility if there was any negativity during that conception, if there was any anger between the couple, if there was no consciousness during conception, because sometimes babies are born by accident, right? The parents weren't trying to have a child. They're not meditating. Sometimes the man or the woman's thinking about somebody else, right? We've heard about these types of stories as well. The Bible talks about it, actually, but we've seen it ourselves. So all of that is spiritual responsibility. No, we haven't seen it.
We've heard about it ourselves.
We haven't seen it firsthand, obviously. But
Dave is just digging himself deeper and deeper into this ditch.
Well, but I think it's fascinating. Sometimes people want to know the deep content of Kabbalah, and I wanted to just share a little bit about that with them. But yeah, conception really determines the type of soul that comes to this world. And if that soul 30 years later has pain, it could be because of some negative thoughts the parents had at conception. The parents can go back in time and cleanse that. And if you think your parents did that to you, and let's say your parents aren't alive, what can you do? Again, this is deep knowledge I'm dropping here. I'm dropping deep stuff. Elisheva was giving me the face, but I'm going to give it to you guys anyways.
Send this podcast to your parents.
By the way, if you like this kind of content, comment so I understand and I know, because right now I'm seeing crickets on my comment page. I think I'm not getting many affirmations if they like this kind of content. But mikveh is a kabbalistic tool. Mikveh basically is spiritual immersion in water that takes you back to the time of being in the womb. And you can actually meditate to cleanse any negativity at the time of conception, and even any negativity you may have absorbed while your mother was pregnant with you, because the baby absorbs obviously in the womb. So a person who immerses themselves in any kind of water, let's say, but mainly spring water or ocean water, and goes underwater and completely surrounds himself with water, it's a major form of cleansing. There's also, by the way,
again, all this conversation is leading us to today's topic, but there's also meditations to do during pregnancy, right? Before conception, during conception,
Yes.
once the baby is during the pregnancy and afterwards. But we're talking about situations where that mindset wasn't there from the get-go.
Correct.
So Kabbalah does provide present time tools as well as retroactive tools.
Exactly. Nothing is in stone. You can change anything. Anything negative in your life or that happened in the past, you can convert that into light. And it can be even more powerful than had it not even happened.
Right. And that, I think, is a huge underlying concept in Kabbalah, and a huge departure from the way a lot of people were raised.
Yeah.
Is that, sometimes things happen, and I just watched The Lion King yesterday, and, the beginning of the show, I think it's a huge lesson from The Lion King, is that, initially the Timon and Pumbaa tell Simba, bad things happen and you can't do anything about it. Right?
It's false, right?
It's false, right? The lesson of Lion King is that you can go back and change the past by what you do right now. When you take responsibility, Simba took responsibility, and he changed not only his own movie, but the movie of everybody around him.
Right.
And so I do not get paid for these cinematic promotions, but it's a great lesson to talk about with your kids, with your friends, with your partners. Anything, you can change anything. And it really does start with this part of what this week's energy is telling us to do is to remember that everything is a journey, right? There is a lot of us, we had this conversation in the car. If you go onto your phone and you Google or you look at the App Store and you look for meditation apps, there are tons of them now. And each meditation app has millions of subscribers or users or downloads. People are looking for, to me, many people look to meditation, people who are not on a more holistic spiritual journey. A lot of us look at meditation in a way like a beer at the end of the day, like I need to chill out. Meditation is a drug of choice for people because it does, I remember years and years and years ago reading a book by Deepak Chopra. And one of the things he said is that, if I'm not mistaken, and please don't be upset with me if I hack this, he was saying that, he was teaching a meditation. He said the ultimate goal is to get to be able to do this for 2 hours a day. And I said, 2 hours a day? Who has 2 hours to sit and just do nothing, be nothing, no thoughts, wouldn't that be amazing? First of all, amazing to be able to achieve that, but what's the goal? And what I found when I came across Kabbalah is that the meditations, the kabbalistic meditations, the tools, the wisdom, even when I was meditating, let's say I had a 5-minute meditation, I got back to my desk after that meditation, and the person who sat next to me no longer bothered me. And the inbox that I had teeming with emails of people who needed and wanted, and it was no longer daunting to me. And so for me, the fact that I can have that daily routine that diffuses my, what's the right way? That diffuses the intensity or the, we all have that opponent that wants us to be reactive, because once we get reactive, we start to plant negative seeds, and it's like the downward spiral is already in motion. But if we can stop and remember, wait a second, this is all here for my greatest good. I can handle this. If it weren't in my path, if it's in my path, it's because I can handle it. And through shifting the meditations that help me shift into that place are really, that's what makes sure, or for all of us, that's what ensures that we stay on the path we desire.
So the bottom line, what you're saying is the meditation isn't the end goal, right? Person doesn't just meditate to feel good. The purpose of the meditation should lead to a good feeling, which leads to a transformation.
Well, there's different kinds of meditation in Kabbalah, right? I know, sometimes I get this question: how do you meditate? What do you meditate for, etc.
Right.
I have a few different meditations I use throughout the day, but one of the most common ones is it's just a visual mantra. I visualize this combination of 3 letters, and it's like
You're talking about the 72 names.
One of the 72 names of God. And it's like
people can get it on Amazon or on our website.
Right.
No, people always ask, well,
It's
what are you
true,
talking
it's
about?
true.
Where are you going to get
and
it?
maybe I can post the 72 name I'm talking about as well. But the it's almost like it clears my screen. It's like turning my computer on and off. and I start fresh, and I'm able to move through the day very easily. There's another meditation that I use that it's a more of a spoken meditation, and I probably say it 100 times a day.
Ana B'Koach?
Ana B'Koach.
All right. Also something, I don't think you can get that online so easily.
Yeah, you really can. It's all over
Ana B'Koach,
YouTube.
it's all over the place.
It's all over the place. The way that we do it might not be what's available everywhere, but we'd be happy to give you, there's also a 72 Names of God app, by the way, you can download. That's very cool.
Oh, and there's a Dialing God app.
Yes, the Dialing God app also has
Ana B'Koach and everything
Ana
on it.
B'Koach, the way that I'm doing it, the way that I'm talking about it, as well as many other kabbalistic prayers and meditations.
Yes, I do it about 100 times a day. It is the most powerful way to shift out of a reactive, stressful consciousness to the one that you feel connected to the light of the Creator, and you feel in control of your destiny. Ana B'Koach for me is number one.
Right. So in those, the I don't want to call it the Deepak Chopra meditation, but that deep meditative state that I think a lot of us strive for, or look at meditation as like that would be the ultimate. If I could sit in nature and meditate for 2 hours, I have arrived. My question is always, where did you arrive? The fact that you can control your breathing and your thoughts, and that you can sit still and not be in motion for 2 hours, that's amazing. But what's the purpose? What's the goal? And maybe some of you who do that can put it here in the comments. What is the goal of that 2 hour? If you do get back to work or your daily life and you are a better person for it, amazing.
I love that right now we have someone from Sinai, Egypt, who's checking in, Jackie. And I love when people post where they're from. Helps us understand the global aspect of this show. So let us know. So let's help give some structure to using meditation, right? We're not going to get into the how to meditate right now, right? There's so many different ways. But the bottom line is, if it helps you feel better, it's meditative. If it helps you feel clearer, more empowered, less complicated, right? That's the way I look at it, is after a meditation, I feel less complicated, more simple. That's how you know you meditated. But some structure around it, what I share this in my Kabbalah 3 class actually, is how do you construct your day to be so efficient spiritually that you don't fall into the chaos? And what I'm about to share is important because meditation and setting your intention is not a waste of time. In fact, it's going to save you so much time, because if you did an audit of your day, you'd be shocked at how much time we're wasting.
It's funny. A lot of people do look at meditation as a waste of time.
A lot of people do.
Let me tell you something. You don't have time not to meditate. That's the truth.
And we're going to learn why, because the way we teach meditation is to strengthen your consciousness so that you don't make reactive decisions. So you don't speak evil speech, so you don't ruin your relationships, so you don't make yourself look like a fool at work, in your love life, with your friends. Because if you could watch yourself on TV the way I'm watching myself right now on camera, see, I'm looking at myself, and if I had to watch myself in a 24-hour day, and the subtitles of this video of me would be my thoughts, you would think you're such a fool. You'd be like, oh my God, that was me all day long. And the reason why we would be ashamed to watch ourselves on camera is because we haven't prepared ourselves to pass our tests on a daily basis. So what I'm going to share right now is part of my morning routine. Is the first 5 minutes of my morning are the most important, right? That's the seed level of the day. Elisheva talked about the seed level of the month, controlling the month. We talked about the seed level of intercourse, sexual intercourse, being the seed level of a child's life. We talked about the first week that you met your girlfriend or boyfriend that you now are in love with years later. That first week determined a big part of how that relationship would fall out eventually. The seed level of your day is the first 5 minutes of your day. What did you do in the first 5 minutes of today? Were you reactive? Were you stressed out? Did you roll over and go back to bed?
So many people, by the way, right, they grab their phone and the day begins with dread. One of the best things I ever did for myself was stop sleeping near my phone.
That is so smart.
And by the way, not so far away that I can't hear if my kids call me or something like that, but enough so that it cannot, my trepidation cannot be connected to
Right.
it, that I can really start the day with, I cannot wait to see what the light has in store for me.
5 minutes. Just don't touch your phone for 5 minutes. Get up, use the restroom. There's spiritual meditations that we do, even with washing of the hands. We're not going to get into that now. And I like to sit on my bed. I like to do the Anabakoach and a couple other different Kabbalistic meditations. And the first thing I do is I talk to the Creator and I say, all right, what's my mission today? My mission is definitely not coming on a radio show. My mission is not teaching Kabbalah. My mission is not doing business or helping. My mission is not even to help people. My mission today is to achieve the highest level of my soul, highest level of my consciousness, to not get reactive, to transform who I am. So I'll start to take inventory of what are some possible tests I'm going to have today. Well, this person's going to make me upset. This situation is going to overwhelm me. This thing is going to give me doubts. I am going to start thinking about this project and I'm going to start getting worried about it. I start to set that in the first 20 minutes of my day and how I'm going to approach it throughout the day. I'm already sending energy to my future self that day of preparing for the challenge. The challenge is going to come. You can't avoid the challenge, right? Kabbalistically, you must face the challenge because you have to earn the light. But what you can do is to prepare for that challenge by sending your spiritual attorney to go be there.
Can you give like a solid example? Like, you have a meeting about a project that's not doing as well as it could be doing.
Sure.
What do you send? What energy do you send yourself?
So let's say I have a meeting today that I know is always a reactive meeting. Everyone starts shouting. Everyone starts saying stuff. Sometimes it's a complete waste of time, these meetings. So
I have no idea what meeting you're talking about.
But let's say everyone has this kind of a meeting at some point in their week, and you probably are acting in a way you're not happy about. You don't respect the way you're acting. So I like to visualize that meeting and visualize me being the best version of me. Like if I saw me on a TV screen, would I respect the me I'm watching? So I try to already visualize me in that meeting. So we're taking visualization techniques that many gurus talk about, and we're implementing it within this Kabbalistic understanding that the seed level of my day is controlling my day. So that is one of the things that I do. I'm setting my spiritual intention. I'm going into the details of the types of challenges I might face. And I'm visualizing how I should act in those situations. You will be shocked. Everyone listening right now, you will be shocked at how well that works for you and how much strength you have throughout your day if you do that. Now, that's my morning routine. I haven't gotten to my nighttime routine yet, but what do you think, Elisheva?
Well, I want to take a break from the regularly scheduled programming. We have a question here, which I think is totally valid, especially if we have people who are listening to us for the first, second, third, fourth, fifth time. When we say earn the light, what do we mean? How do you earn the light?
All right, I was just literally typing, responding to that person. What does it mean to earn?
I think it's such a huge question, and even if you've heard it 18,000 times, it's worth hearing the
It is the foundation of what we teach in Kabbalah 1. If you haven't heard Kabbalah 1, take Kabbalah 1. It's going to change your life. The main thing that we talk about is the light represents miracles, fulfillment, and blessings. Everything that's meant for your soul is within the light. But you need the flavors of fulfillment. All the flavors of fulfillment. But you need to connect with the light force to be able to experience those blessings. The way you connect with the light force is to have affinity with the light force. So you have to be parallel to the light. You have to be like the light of the Creator. So in Kabbalah, we learn, well, what are the qualities of the light of the Creator? And we start learning all these qualities, and it's not what you think. People go, oh, I'm sure I'm going to be nice. Be a nice person. Be a giving person. That's not what we teach in Kabbalah. Yes, being nice is 0.001% of the spiritual work. But there's so many unique things that people go, oh my God, I didn't even know that was something I needed to do. I've been doing the opposite of that and thinking it's good to do the opposite of that my whole life. So it's that one thing you're doing the opposite of that is actually upending your whole life and delaying your connection to the light of the Creator. So basically it is earning the light. Earning the light basically means transforming yourself to become like the light. That's number one. And number two, passing tests when you feel pain, when you feel lack, when you feel doubt, worry, you feel reactive, to transform the reactive behavior at that moment. And obviously we have many formulas for that and many teachings.
I think for each person, you can't say just be a good person, because if you're naturally a good person, that's not the way for you to shine your light necessarily.
Right.
For me, I use the phrase spiritual effort, right? Because making an effort, you may work a 20-hour work day, and making an effort actually means leaving your desk and being present with your family.
Right.
So a lot of earning the light means recognizing, where I'm challenged, where I need to stretch myself, and making the effort to stretch myself in those areas. But the one of the reasons you won't see a form or a guidebook for how to earn the light is because each soul earns its light in a unique way. So we may have formulas for you to identify and express that part of you, but you can't say, here's how you earn the light. First, be a nice person. Second, confront with mercy. But, it's every soul has their own manual in that sense.
Yeah, right. And when I'm teaching Kabbalah courses, and I'm sure you're doing the same thing, I think Kabbalah 1, 2, and 3, which is just scratching the surface, it's 30 weeks. And every week we learn a concept that sometimes even contradicts the concept of the week before. In the same way that a surgeon, let's say ear, nose, and throat doctor, this is kind of came to my mind, ear, nose, and throat. He's a surgeon, right? He went to school for 10 years, did his residency, got his specialties, board certified, he's all these things. How does he become a good surgeon? He's not just saying, oh, here's the neck, just fix it, right? It's not a simple, just fix this. To become a surgeon of the highest order, you have to learn every possible scenario, every possible detail. And sometimes you have to do this, and sometimes you have to do the exact opposite, which is that. It all depends on the scenario you're facing, right, what your patient is going through. Kabbalah, it's the same thing. So we teach our students thousands of tools and thousands of lessons. We help them make it second nature, so they don't have to intellectually remember the lessons. It's embedded within their soul. Then, when you're armed with these 1,000 tools, every situation you have this toolbox, right, of these spiritual weapons you can pull from and to apply to that situation.
Right. A scalpel is not going to cure every single challenge. But and I find a lot of people are like, well, just tell me what to do.
No, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work like that. And sometimes, you hear this teaching, and I see this a lot, even, in social media and things like that, that you see somebody post an image with a powerful quote. Even that powerful quote is not the cure-all.
Exactly, it's not. That's why you always get the haters saying, "Whoa, well, you know what? It's easy for you to say." It's like it's never just as simple as a quote.
The people pleasers, for example, I feel like I can speak from experience on this. You realize it's not great to be a people pleaser. It's not revealing your light. So you say, I'm going to say no to everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna be angry with everyone, and I'm just gonna set boundaries.
I said yes to everybody all my life. Now I'm going to say no to everybody.
That's not how it works.
That's not spiritual earning either, because the trick is to be sensitive enough and present enough in the moment to be able to say, I can say no here,
right, or
I can say yes here, and to be able to the enlightenment piece, right? Again, a lot of people say, I look at meditation and say, I'm going to elevate my consciousness with meditation. Right. I'm going to become enlightened. I'm going to elevate to this level. Mm-hmm. According to Kabbalah, what level you're at isn't the goal either.
Right.
The goal isn't enlightened consciousness. The goal is the enlightened consciousness so that you can recognize the spiritual earning in every moment, so that you can recognize the opportunity for you to shine your light in every moment, not just to stay, kind of in that nirvana where nothing bothers you and you don't hear the phone ringing and la la la, right? So, Kabbalah does, I think, stress people out in that sense, because it's kind of like every moment there's something for me. If you're able to use that meditation, I like the nighttime meditation, because for me, it's a very preemptive.
Yes.
That's my strategy meeting with myself for the day. And I think we need to talk about that, because that also helps to diffuse and I want to say infiltrate the real matters, so that you can focus when the next sun rises.
So basically we've spoken about these 3 weeks and how the most intense aspect of the 3 weeks is coming up on the first day of Leo for 9 days. We talked about seeing the big picture and not getting stuck in the details. I want to insert the day of power. That's also, we have a lot of days of power this week. So the one that we have tonight, right? It's tonight.
It's tonight.
Tonight, 24 hours leading into Tuesday night. So starting at sunset.
And that's actually one of the cool things about the Kabbalistic calendar is that through these 3 weeks, every few days, we have a powerful day to give us a boost, to write another few days, and then another boost to write a few days. So it's well, take it away, David.
So if tonight, starting tonight, wherever you are in the world, we get this support from the upper worlds of the soul of Joseph the righteous, who was
Joseph in the Technicolor Dream Code.
Yes, Joseph in the Technicolor Dream Code, if you remember as a child. And Joseph was from the Bible. But long story short is he did a certain level of spiritual work that eventually became a conduit of energy for the whole world. It's called Yesod. It relates to sexual energy, children, and relationships and finances, right? So this dimension called Yesod actually controls all of these energies. Sex and money, it's all connected energetically. So what happens, what's available for us is to connect with his soul starting tonight until tomorrow. So any area of our lives where we feel that we can inject more spiritual work with our children, with our business, with finances.
Some people are listening to the show. It's already Monday night where they are. If you're listening live, you may be listening to the show on Thursday. This is still important information because this is by asking for that support, and we could also have a whole show about this, but by asking for support from these souls who have achieved their mission, their perfection, we can borrow from their energy. So if you are listening and it's Monday, if it's before Tuesday night, you can light a candle and meditate and ask for that support. Yeah. Learn about Joseph, who Joseph was. There's many sections in the Zohar that talk about him as well.
Go on Kabbalah.com, type in Joseph, and we have live streamings probably from centers, Kabbalah centers all around the world. I saw that Student Support has a live streaming with, I think, with Ariel. I know the Los Angeles Kabbalah Center tonight. I think
also
it's at
in New York,
7 or
every
8
center
o'clock.
is having a broadcast tonight.
Right.
So if
Study,
you're
learn about it,
make that connection. Again, it's another tool not only to help us go with the flow in these 3 weeks, but it's a really powerful opening in the calendar period.
Right. So let's tie this into my nighttime routine, and you can start it tonight. Also help you connect to Joseph tonight. The nighttime routine is important because it's a seed level of your sleep, which is, again, a seed level to the day. So it keeps going. And I think we did, how much time do we have?
8 minutes? 7 minutes?
Okay, so I'll be quick about it. I think we had a show where we talked about sleep and what happens to your soul when you sleep. We should probably do a more comprehensive soul about it.
Let's do another
more comprehensive show about it. But basically, every time you sleep, your soul goes through a type of audit, a judgment, and your actions are viewed from the whole day. Your thoughts, your words, and actions are viewed under a microscope, and based on who you were that day, the new destiny, the new movie is created for the next day. So it's so important not to go to bed just reactively. You have a chance before you go to bed to take responsibility.
How do you go to bed reactively? I'm going to bed. What does that look like?
The definition of going to bed reactively means that you don't take responsibility for your negative thoughts, words, and actions of the day, right? You kind of pretend like nothing happened, you just go to bed. That is considered reactive sleep. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes before you go to bed, the one thing you want to think about is this spiritual repentance.
And if you're the type of person that falls asleep instantaneously when your head hits the pillow, first of all, that's number one. Wow, I'm really impressed. Number two, do it while you're brushing your teeth. Find a way to do it without your head on the pillow, because it is that important. So bring it into your nighttime routine, however it needs to look.
I like to sit Indian style on the floor. I like to feel more grounded. And I started to review my day, what I could have done better, what was a short circuit. If you're studying Kabbalah, you're going to be able to identify on a higher level all of those things. People who don't study Kabbalah, people who don't study any spirituality, I realize they're not as cognizant of what they could have
but this is a great
wrong.
Way to begin that habit of cognizance.
Exactly.
You start, for me, and I want to interject as a mom with small children, I usually don't wake myself up in the morning. Someone else wakes me up, if you know what I mean. So I don't necessarily have that moment of meditation in bed with myself in the morning.
You don't have 5 minutes to tell everybody to leave the room so you can
No. So that's why I was saying my nighttime meditation for me is more powerful, because my next opportunity to meditate is after the kids have been distributed to their various destinations. So for me, I really make a point in the evening before I go to bed to visualize. I actually have a visualization that I do where I kind of see the road before me in the coming day, and literally ask the light of the Creator. And I incorporate, of course, Ana Bekoach and the Zohar. I read Zohar in the evening many times. Sometimes I do it earlier in the evening, but you know what? I think it's important to know yourself. If you know that you're going to pass out, but by 9 p.m., do this meditation at 8:30, so to speak, right? It's not about doing it in your bed necessarily. It's about making it part of your ascension when you sleep. I visualize that the day ahead of me and filling the black holes. Right? I don't even, David may know about this reactive meeting. You may not know that there's a reactive meeting heading your way tomorrow morning. I ask the light to fill those dark moments with light to preempt whatever may be there that, is unnecessary. Of course, I want to take the opportunities that are connected to the evolution of my soul. I don't want to deal with the unnecessary. And I'm really asking that I celebrate the triumphs of the day. Like, that was good, that was good, that was good.
Sure.
That was not as good as it could be,
sure.
right? Identifying the triumphs, and also, it's almost like watching the sports reel. You're going to play a tough team on Sunday, so you watch their last 5 games to see what happened. I'm watching my game, and I'm identifying where I can play stronger the next day.
You want to audit and you want to optimize, because otherwise you're going to fall behind, and it's going to be chaos and pain that ends up teaching you the lesson. So to review your day, feel the pain of the negativity, and a sincere commitment to change. And I'll make a plug. I'm starting to really take that nighttime routine seriously, because what do we got? 1, 2, we got, in 2 months begins the time where all souls in the world get spiritually audited for their entire year. It's called Rosh Hashanah. It's not a Jewish holiday the way people think it is.
It is a Jewish holiday, but it was intended to be.
Rosh Hashanah is a spiritual holiday where every soul in this world receives a unique energy that determines their future destiny.
Yes.
At least the starting point of their destiny. They can then change it through their actions throughout the year. But it is so important that in the next 2 months, we become the people we want to become.
Right.
Because that is going to determine when the quote-unquote judgment day comes. I know I don't like that word. But when the day of Rosh Hashanah, which is the first 2 days of Libra, which happens starts
September 29th.
For 48 hours, our soul is basically being reviewed in the upper worlds. And so we can start preparing for that now. I like to start preparing for that starting in the first day of Leo. Leo and Virgo, I like to take 2 full months, because you need time. You need time to see what you need to change, and you need time for those tests to come up so you can pass those tests. So we're going to obviously have many more shows about that topic, but I did want to start preparing people to start thinking about expediting their transformational process in the next 60 days.
I'm in.
All right.
Sounds good.
You want to wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up. So first of all, again, remembering that Monday night through Tuesday night is the anniversary of the elevation of Joseph, which means we can tap into that elevation that he created. Thursday night to Friday night, we have the new moon of Leo. Be on your best behavior. Have the extra espresso in the morning. Buy your wife flowers, whatever it's going to take to get you to have that extra edge on the voice of your opponent. Be that person. We are focusing this week on creating a more spiritual routine, ideally incorporating meditation, kabbalistic tools if you're open to them, but really focusing on elevating our intention in everything that we do. If you like the show, We're on Facebook, and you're more than welcome to continue to post your comments there. We go throughout the week to answer those questions and comments. Share the show, whether it's through Facebook, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Castbox, and Stitcher. You can also email us directly at energyboost@kabbalah.com. There are so many ways that you can connect with us, and there's some links that have been posted already, kabbalah1.com, etc. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next Monday on the Weekly Energy Boost.
Thank you.